Hello there guys, welcome back to Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well, hope you're having a good Tuesday. I was going to say Monday then, it's weird after a bank holiday weekend. It does feel slightly like a Monday, so luckily we're closer to the next weekend. But got some interesting stuff to speak about today from a Chelsea point of view in the news show. Joao Felix, it seems a decision has been made over his future after the announcement of Mauricio Pochettino becoming the new Chelsea head coach. We're also going to go on to why Pochettino cannot start work at Chelsea until July the 1st. If you are new around here, make sure to turn those notifications on so you don't miss any of the content surrounding Chelsea heading into this summer. Make sure to hit that like button too, helps new people find the channel. And if you're listening on the podcast feed, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with Joao Felix. It is believed and it is said as much from the Atletico Madrid president that Chelsea do not want to keep Joao Felix. He will not return to Chelsea. Pochettino doesn't want him. He will return to his parent club. This is the quote. We've known for less than 24 hours he'll come back and we'll see what happens. We don't have anything planned. So Joao Felix made 16 appearances in the Premier League for Chelsea, 20 overall. Scored 4 goals, no assists in either competition. And that is how it ends. It seems like we have seen the end of Joao Felix. He could have ended it with a winner in the dying moments against the Newcastle, where he had a header that just went over the bar. I welcome this news. I'm not entirely shocked by this news, and I think it is absolutely the right decision for Chelsea to be making. If you go back and watch my reaction to when Joao Felix joined Chelsea on loan, I didn't think it was a very beneficial loan to Chelsea from kind of a benefit sort of point of view. It was always a very lopsided loan for me in favour of Atletico Madrid because financially too, it was a pretty expensive loan. It felt like an opportunity at the time. And given what Atletico would demand for a permanent fee, I just don't think, based on the time Felix had at Chelsea, to kind of make that impact was always going to be difficult. You also throw in the context that he got sent off in his first game against Fulham, which, took down those appearances. It was always going to be, I think, challenging for him in what has been a challenging season for Chelsea to thrive. I have always had my doubts about Joao Felix, even before he signed for Chelsea. And I think that, unfortunately, a lot of my preconceptions about him as a player have been vindicated. Now, context, sure, in terms of he has not walked into a very good environment. And as with any player, if they walk into a more settled environment, if they walk into a better Chelsea team, does he look like a better player? Maybe. But when we're talking about a player who has been hyped a lot, and I think even some Chelsea fans at times have talked him up as this great talent, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the productivity for a player who is deserving of future opportunities. He is clearly a talented player. He showed as much earlier in his career at Benfica, where I still think that maybe he should have just remained. And, he may have got that move later down the line to a more suitable club, and he could have gone in a very different direction. He is clearly a player who looks lost, who is struggling to find out what he is. He kind of looks lost in modern football, in the world of modern football, of what's required of him. I think he isn't a player who works hard enough for me off the ball to sort of justify having a role at one of these big clubs now, because you have to be good off the ball. It's not just about what you do on the ball. He seems like a player that is too much in the mold of what we deem a luxury player, someone who needs a team built around him and needs all these things to come together. Chelsea, not only that I don't think in the modern game in the Premier League you should have those players, Chelsea are not in a position to be using Felix as kind of a rehab project for him, particularly given how expensive it is and given what Mauricio Pochettino demands of his players. He needs full committed just application from his players, and I just don't think with Felix we've seen that consistently enough. I think off the ball he's been terrible at times, and I think the end product simply hasn't been there. For as good as he looks at times, and as good as some of those comps make him out to be, and trust me, I've been in the ground when he's done nice tricks and flicks, and it's, it gets you out of your seat, and it's exciting to watch a player do that on the pitch, and Chelsea haven't had those type of players. It's what happens after that's the big problem. It's that too many times he'll do something like that, and unlike what happened at Man United where he has to finish, his finish is horrendous. His decision making is horrendous, and that is something that he needs to rectify in his career. So I just don't. I just didn't see what Chelsea gained from having another player who had a massive question mark over their heads. If you're going to give that time to Christopher Nkunku, who's coming in, if you're going to give that time to Mason Mount, who I think is worthy of that, or other players, I just don't think that Felix was ever going to be that type of player for me. And I wish him the best in terms of he can go back to Atletico Madrid, and I hope for his sake he can find a career and he can find his best position, whatever it is. But it's not a Chelsea, and I think Chelsea have made the correct decision here to save their money and to not buy another theory player who we spend years wondering what is their best position, what are they as a player? Because we have had too many of those players at Chelsea in recent years. We didn't need another one. So there we go, and I think that is a good starting point, I think, for Pochettino, and I think maybe it sends out a message of where the team is going to be going. If you're not going to be working off the ball, if you're going to be someone who it is deemed that kind of profile, you're not going to be kind of indulged at Chelsea, and I think that's the right move. It really is. And as a loan player, I just think it made sense. You send him back. There's no kind of drama about it. He moves on. Chelsea move on, and hopefully both parties can have positive summers and into next season. So there's been some reports, and kind of I saw Sky Sports did this kind of piece. Sky Sports News, did this piece around, Pochettino's contract being a problem. Is it a problem that he cannot start work until July the 1st, which was announced yesterday in the statement that Chelsea released? And I saw this piece from Sky Sports News where they were kind of saying, it's such a terrible thing. And they had John Cross from the Mirror, they had Mark Ogden, I think it was, from ESPN, kind of saying, this is really bad that Pochettino's not going to be able to start work until July the 1st. This is really horrendous, and comparing it to David Moyes at Man United. Now, there is a contractual thing in terms of, as Nazar Kinsella explains in the London Evening Standard, that Pochettino cannot start his work at Chelsea before the July the 1st date, because under the terms of his exit from PSG a year ago, he cannot begin his new role until that time. But he's already started the groundwork for a crucial summer, including speaking to Blues players. Among his priorities, he'll be determining the future of out-of-contracting N'Golo Kante and Mason Mount, and attracting in and other players too. So the idea that Pochettino is not working and not having an influence, not speaking to players, not trying to formulate plans is just nonsense. So if anyone tries to spin that to you or try and project that him not starting on July the 1st is him basically being on the beach and, Chelsea is this chaotic place. Listen, I think, again, it's a very convenient narrative to spin, but I don't think that's quite accurate. It's just ridiculous. I don't think it's that well informed. Pochettino will have a say, as he has already had with Joao Felix, as we've just been talking about here, in terms of the futures of players. So if you think that by the time he arrives on July the 1st, he will have no idea what's going on and he's had no say in anything that's gone on, again, I think it's a very convenient narrative to spin, given what's happened to Chelsea this season, and I can understand why some would fall for it, but I don't think it reflects the full picture. I think he will absolutely be in conversation with people because he's allowed to, and I think it makes a ton of sense. So there we go. That is it for today's show. I do just want to announce before we wrap up today's news show, I am going to be hosting a new Chelsea podcast, or at least an extra episode of a current Chelsea podcast, View from the Bridge. It is the Football.London Chelsea podcast. So I'm glad to say there's going to be 2 episodes now moving forward. So the first episode will be coming up this time, sometime this week, delving into the season, and we're going to be getting some very good guests on it. So definitely go and check it out on Football.London, also on the podcast feed as well. You can find it on Apple and Spotify, all of those good places. So just wanted to announce that, so you can go and support the podcast View from the Bridge. Go and find it, because I will be hosting new episodes once a week right now moving forward. So just wanted to announce that, and it's an exciting thing to announce as we head into the summer. So you can follow me on Twitter. Make sure you do rate and review this podcast and support it as well. It really does help the podcast out. Hit that subscribe button, all of that good stuff, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.